Hey guys, this is Locke. Today I'm going to be going through the damage calculations for how your units do damage. This will be kind of detailed. I'll be talking a lot about numbers and how they're calculated, but this is probably instrumental in understanding how to increase your team's damage output. Like for example, what is the difference between giving a unit 50% attack versus a plus 35 slash attack card? So that's what I'm trying to cover with this video. I will also then be talking about the different layers of defense and how they impact your damage calculation as well. So to start with, I'm going to start with the Naked Titus. He has 661 attack, and that attack is divided between like a basic attack and a plus attack. So the plus attack is 276, the basic attack is 385. To explain his damage, I'm going to be using the Taunting Blade skill, which I will show you right here. Oops. One second. So, Taunting Blade. So, the reason I'm going to be using Taunting Blade is because it has a damage modifier of 200%. So, it'll make it very easy to explain in the calculations because it's a nice round number, 200%. The reason that I know the damage mod for Taunting Blade is 200% is because of a website that I used called War of the Visions Calc. I will send a link in the description where you can check it out and look at how much the damage modifier on different skills are. But just to go through a few of them, I'll go through his main skills just to give you examples. So Sphere Shot gives you a damage mod of 121%. Quick Hit gives you a damage mod of also 200%. Delay Buster gives you a mod of 175%. And this skill gives you a damage mod of 165%. And this one I will talk about in detail later on because it also gives you minus 30 defense. So it's very important to understand why that minus 30 defense is so great. But anyway, Taunting Blade, so 200%. So basically, if this is all I have, like if I'm just using a Naked Titus of 661 attack and I used Taunting Blade to damage somebody, the damage, if assuming the other unit that I'm attacking has 0 defense, 0 resistance, everything is just like a naked unit, I will do 661 times 2, times 2 because it's 200%. So that'll be close to 1300 something damage. That's the attack that I will do with using Naked Titus and naked whatever I'm attacking with the 200% mod. If I increase my attack, so if I give a card like Ilfrit, where is it? Yep. Which increases my attack by 50%. Now, just take a look. I had 661 attack before. Now I have 986. How the 50% attack was calculated is it actually affects the basic attack. So the reason that his attack increased from 661 to 986 is not only the 50% attack. He also gets 133 attack from the card itself. So if say he had a nice round 600 attack and I gave him 50% just on 600, that would already raise it to like 900, and then I would add 133 on top, which would have his attack be at 1000 something. But that's not the case, right? So how the attack mod works is, first of all, I add the 133 to his the equipment guide, the second part of the equation. Well, actually, it has its own section, 192 over there. And why is it 192? Interesting. Okay, so how it works again is that you take the basic attack, so 385, and you multiply that by 50%. So I'm gonna round this up to like 400 attack. You multiply it by 50%, you get 200. So if it was 600, you would get 300. Right? If its overall attack was actually 600 and you applied a 50% mod, you would get 300 attack, but you don't. You only get a 50% mod to his basic attack. So that's why it's much lower. So you get 50% from that. You get an additional 133 from his the Esper itself, right? Because the Esper Ilford gives 133 attack. So that's how buffs in the game work for anything that affects the basic stats. So for example, he has a skill called cheer, which increases his attack by 40%. Again, this is 40% of his basic attack. Even when you play it in game, even if you use like something else like a TMR that increases attack, it's always his basic attack. Similarly, if you increase his HP, it would also be his base HP that increases, not the overall. So what goes into the base HP or attack calculation? If you go to a unit screen, you can take a look. You're looking at Titus right now, and you will see whenever you raise his level, this guy is maxed out right now, but whenever you raise levels, his basic stats increases. Whenever you raise your job levels, his basic stat also increases. Those are the two ways of increasing a unit's base stats. Anything else, including the board stats, does not count as a base stat. So that's why, for example, some units have very high agility, especially on their board, but they might have a lower base agility, and when you add vision cards to them, a different unit with a higher base agility gets an overall better effect from that vision card than a unit which has a lot of these nodes that increase that ability, because the nodes does not count as a base stat, it counts as an additional stat. So earlier I showed you actually let me just go there to make it easier to talk about. Remove this again, and I'll show you what the base stats looks like again. So the 385 is the base attack. Again, the attack from everything else, including the board stats, is 276. And we saw that he had quite a few of these agility nodes, right? Actually, I have to remove these to talk about that. Yeah, so we saw that he had quite a few agility nodes, and those nodes come up to 8 agility. That's where he gets that. And I guess I should mention the passives are also increasing your base stats. So for example, Blade Soul increases your attack by 25%. Let me just double check that. 25%. So that is a 25% of his base stat, not his overall attack, right? So I hope you guys understand how, what the difference between base and overall stat is and how that affects his damage. So next I will go into his skill modifier. So anything in the game, let's start with his weapon. So the flat out attack just increases the attack like the Esper did. The Esper added 133 attack. This weapon is adding 153 attack. That's all pretty easy and simple to understand. The complicated part is the box stat, which says slash attack plus 8, water attack plus 8. So if he's using a skill like Taunting Blade, that slash and water, it doesn't matter what that is. If it said, for example, slash attack plus 16 or water attack plus 16, it would have the exact same effect as it is slash attack 8, water attack 8 for Titus using a water skill like Taunting Blade. So let me talk about the damage calculation first. So Taunting Blade, as I mentioned, had a damage mod of 200%. Ignoring everything else and just looking at the slash attack plus 8, water attack plus 8, he will, once I equip this, he will do his damage, so that's his attack, which is 818, multiplied by 2.16. I don't know why I said 6. Sorry about that. So to repeat that, when I have this equipped, his Taunting Blade attack calculation comes up to 818 multiplied by 2.16. That's 216%. And how I come to the 216 is Taunting Blade already starts with a 200% damage modifier. You get plus 8 from the slash attack plus 8, and you get plus 8 from the water attack plus 8. So any skill that is a slash attack and a water attack would do an additional 16% to the modifier of that skill's, to that skill's damage modifier. So with that, you can kind of stack a lot of these damage modifiers. So for example, I can put, I'll put this one for now, Levitian, and I will put his own VC. So Levitian has nodes that increase your water attack by 25. Let me just go see here. It's 10, 25. So plus 25 water attack over there, and he also gets plus 35 water attack from his card. So if you add all of these sources up, he gets 35 from here, 25 from his Esper, which makes it 60, and then he gets another 16 from his weapon, so that's 76. So if I was to attack somebody with Taunting Blade right now, the damage would be 1180 multiplied by 2.76, 276%. That's how that damage modifier calculation works. Critical, if he does a critical hit, the damage modifier increases by another 20. Ignoring his other like critical hit passives, like assume this is a unit that just has a normal damage of critical damage that it does. So the damage mod would go from 276% for Taunting Blade all the way up to 296% as long as it's a critical hit. So now you might be wondering, what's the difference between like a water attack plus 8 over a slash attack plus 8? So if he's using a skill, you can see, let me just go to Taunting Blade. You can see over here where it has like a slash, first of all, the color over there that I'm pointing at over here, I hope you guys can see it, is to the left side of the word paladin. It's a blue color symbol. So the blue signifies that that's a water attack, and the icon that they use there is what they use to denote that it's a slash type attack. So to show a different example, I'm going to look at a ninja like Stern. My Stern is one of the underleveled units I have right now, but I can still show you. Let's look at Shuriken. So here, Shuriken does not have a color symbol, right? So what that means is, assuming that I put Stern is a dark unit. So assuming I put plus 35 dark vision card on him, he will not be getting a plus 35 damage modifier to this skill because it's not a dark skill, it's a non-elemental skill. So that's one difference, right? So if you add instead of a plus 35 dark vision card, you add a plus 35 plus 35 slash vision card, then the damage of Shuriken would go up. Another example is Anton. So Anton, actually this is supposed to be slash. Yeah, that's weird. So Anton actually is a slash damage, I believe. I'll have to check this, but for now, just pay attention to the sorry, not slash. It's supposed to be a dark element. Yeah. Sorry. So I confused myself there. Ignore what I said for the last 20 seconds. So just to point out the difference. So Shuriken is a slash attack with no element, right? Now Anton doesn't have that slash symbol, so it is a non type specific attack. So if you give him a 35 slash attack card to this skill, the skill's damage will not increase. This skill's damage modifier will stay whatever it is because it is not a slash attack. It doesn't have a type. That's what's unique about this skill. So it does have an element. You can't see it here, but the element is dark. So if you add a 35 dark card to it, the damage modifier would go up by 35%. Something else that I can show you, for example, is a skill like this. So here you can see that this is the icon for Pierce. So if you add a slash card to him, like his other skills, like his main job skills might go up by 35 damage mod, but this is a Pierce skill, so this will not go up. This will only be affected by dark cards and Pierce cards. So so if you go back to Titus and the team that I have right now, that's the difference between the sword. So for Titus, because all his skills are water slash attacks, all of his skills will gain a plus 16 damage modifier. But if you equip this to another unit that can do slash attacks but doesn't have any water attacks, he will only get a plus 8 modifier to his skills, not a plus 16. Now, there's one other thing I can mention, which is the normal attack. So the normal attack does not have any elemental affinities associated with it. It will just do normal damage. So his normal attack's modifier will go up by 8, not 16. That's the only thing there, with the only thing left to mention there with in regards to how these modifiers work. Also, actually, one other thing I can mention with the normal attack is that, so I always thought a normal attack would do 100% of a unit's damage. Like, Taunting Blade does 200, right? And every time I've seen it mentioned, people have said, okay, a normal attack does 100% of its base attack, like whatever his attack is. So in this case, it's like, say, 12, oops. In this case, it's 1200 damage. So if he does a normal hit and the other opponent has 0 defense, 0 resistance, it would do 1200 damage. But whenever I look on War of the Visions calc, I see that the basic attack's damage modifier is 70%, not 100. So I haven't done any calculations myself to test that, but like the calculator that we are using is a like it's just data downloads right from the game, so I'm pretty sure it's accurate. So I believe that his basic damage actually just starts out at 70%. So so his basic attack, since it doesn't increase damage from water, it would only increase damage from this card. He would get plus 35 from the slash bonus, and then it would get plus 8 from his weapon. So the damage modifier would go from 70 to 100 and 105 plus 7 plus 8, 113, I believe. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. I believe it goes from 70% to 113% with this setup. So one thing that kind of is interesting that a lot of people take advantage of is the Man-Eater abilities. So Odin has a 25 Man-Eater node. Let me just take a look to show you guys. Here it is. So 10, 25% Man-Eater. So this is exactly the same as a water, like a water up. So for Titus, since all the skills are water slash type skills, if you add plus, say, 25 water attack or 25 slash attack or 25 Man-Eater, they all have the exact same impact on the damage of his skills, as long as the skills that it is using are water slash type skills. So again, I talked about the basic attack, so ignore the basic attack. So Taunting Blade, if I'm only equipping Odin to Taunting Blade and ignoring everything else, Taunting Blade's damage goes up from 200% to 225%. Just the way that damage calculation works, just note that, like a 25 Man-Eater does not increase your overall damage by 25%. It increases your damage from 200 to 225, which is a fraction of 25%. Actually, let me just do the calculation to show you what that is. So it increases the damage by 12.5%. So the more that you stack attack types on him, so again, we started Taunting Blade with a 200 modifier, right? And adding all of these things on him, so he gets 25 from Esper, 35 from the Vision card, plus 16 from the weapon, which makes it 276. That increases the damage by, that increases the damage of Taunting Blade from 200% to 276%. That is actually only an increase of 38%. The more that you stack this, the more that the attack diminishes. So ideally, you would want a mix of things. Like you would want, for example, since you already have like a pretty good damage modifier with that card, instead of using something like this, because this would increase that damage modifier from 276 to 311, instead of that, you might be better off using something like this, because that increases your base attack. Well, not your base attack, but your overall attack stat, right? And it's this attack multiplied by your modifier. And the modifier is diminishing after a while, so it might be worth it actually to be increasing the attack part of the calculation. So it was close to 1200 before, now it's 369. So that is how the damage part of the calculation works. Now I'm going to talk about the defense part of the calculation. So the first thing you can look at, actually, I'm going to start with a naked Titus because that is the best way to explain it. We look at the stat details and we go all the way down to the bottom. Here it says attack type resistances. So he has a resistance of 10% to slash, 0 to pierce, 5% to strike, 10% to missile, and negative 10% to magic. So I explained how Taunting Blade's damage went up from 200% all the way to 276%. To make it easier, I'm going to assume that we have a 300% damage modifying Taunting Blade. So when somebody is attacking me with that, my overall damage on Titus will be decreased by 10%. This is a flat out 10%. It doesn't decrease your modifier or anything. It just overall decreases your damage. So I'm going to use like a very basic example. So suppose he had an attack of 1000 and he's using a 300% modifier Taunting Blade to attack him. So the overall attack that he's being hit with is 3000. Assuming I'm only looking at the attack type resistance, that 3000 damage will go down to 2700 because of this attack type resistance. So for example, if you are able to get the attack type resistance to 100 and my opponent has no way to mitigate that, I will be taking 1 damage. It doesn't matter how many attack modifiers you put on your unit, I will only be taking 1 damage because I have 100% slash resistance. So similarly, the elemental resistance works in the same way. If I'm taking a like a fire hit, like ignore the type for a second. Like assume it is a pierce type because pierce is not impacted either way by type. So if I'm taking a 200% modifying damage from fire, like so suppose the total damage I'm taking from fire is a 3000 hit, my damage that I will suffer will be 2400 because that's minus 20% of 3000. So if I happen to be taking a slash fire attack, the defenses multiply. So for example, suppose it's a 3000 hit that I'm taking, and that 3000 hit is a slash fire attack. First it will go through the slash resistance, so that 3000 hit will become 2700, and then that 2700 hit goes through my elemental resistance, so that is 80% of that. So the damage that I suffer goes down from 3000 all the way down to 2160 just by having a 10% mod to slash and a 20% mod to fire. Now it would actually have been a lot better if I increased just one of these instead of two of these. So for example, assume that my slash attack is 30%, my slash attack resistance is 30%, and my fire resistance is 0. Assuming I take the exact same 3000 fire slash hit, the damage that I would suffer would only be 2100. The way that is split right now, 10% here, 20% here, I'm taking 2160. I'm taking an extra 60 damage. So ideally, the best way to mitigate your damage is by having one spot, like an attack type resistance or an elemental type resistance, or like other things that I'll cover in a second. By having one of these to 100% and my opponent not being able to negate it in any way, I'm done. Like I will take just 1 damage no matter what you're doing. So if you have an option of, like, say, increasing his elemental resistance and his slash resistance, and you're assuming to fight a fire slash enemies, it's better to focus on just one than splitting into two. Now the other way to decrease your damage is your defense or spirit. So these work exactly the same way as the slash and elemental resist. If he's taking a physical hit, that physical hit will be decreased by 5%. This 5 is actually a percent. So if you get 100% on your defense, you will take 1 damage. Spirit is the same except for magical hits. So if I'm taking a magical ability, say I'm taking a magical slash fire hit, that will go through my 20% elemental resist, my 10% attack type resist, then my 2% spirit, and I'll finally get the damage of whatever is left over. So, like increasing your defense to 100 or spirit to 100 is probably one of the easiest way to increase a unit's survivability. However, it also has the most like piercing and like it has there are a lot of abilities in the game that can reduce the effectiveness of defense and spirit, and Titus already has that in one of his kit. So this skill, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it lowers his defense by, not his defense, but the opponent's defense by 30. So so that 30 is actually an overall modifier. So I've been talking about, like, say how that plus 76 damage mod increases Taunting Blade's overall output by 38%, right? But this lower target's defense by 30 is an overall modifier of 30%, because it's just how the way it works. It's really hard to explain without like actually writing it down and showing you. So I hope you take my word for it. If not, I hope you look on Reddit. There are a lot of detailed explanations to show how the damage calculation works that way, and why like abilities that decrease defense is so powerful, or abilities that decrease like slash resistance. Gilgamesh has such a skill, which I will show you just now. Where is he? There he is. And Kotetsu. So this lowers slash resistance by 38, and again, this is a overall increase to your damage. Like whatever your damage was, it increases your damage by 38%. So that's huge. That's why skills like these are so good. But anyway, back to Titus and my defense setup. So as I explained, he already has a skill that lowers the opponent's defense by 30. This skill lowers the opponent's defense by 20%. Not the skill, it's a vision card. So if I equip this on him, what will happen is that so I'm going to ignore using the 30 defense skill. Assume I'm just using Taunting Blade. So if my Taunting Blade's damage would do 3000 damage and my opponent has, say, 100 defense. So typically I will just do 1 damage because he has 100 defense. But because I have a 20% defense penetration, that defense of my opponent will go from 100 to 80. So now my 3000 damage Taunting Blade will do 600, which is like way better than 1, right? And there are a lot of units in the game that have defense penetration and defense down. So that's why stacking defense might not be the optimal way to get a unit to survive. There are a couple of vision cards that increase your overall resistances and basically overall resistances to units. So Odin has a unit resistance of 20. So this is basically increasing your, it gives you an additional layer of 20% mitigation. It doesn't increase like your slash or whatever, it just overall increases your survivability by 20% to single target attacks. So what I mean by that, I will go through some skills to show you. Okay, so Quick Hit, for example, is a single target skill. So if my opponent has Odin equipped, this skill will deal 20% less damage to the party that has Odin equipped, because Odin reduces your overall damage by 20%. Whereas a skill like Taunting Blade is an AoE skill, it's a range skill. So this skill can bypass Odin's single target resistance, because Odin only reduces single target resistance by 20%. It's only single target that he reduces it by. So a skill that has an AoE effect will still do the normal amount of damage that it would as if Odin wasn't there. So instead of Odin, we can use another skill, another vision card that would have a similar effect, like this one, Winter Holiday Party. It increases your area effect resistance by 20%. So Taunting Blade now, its damage would be reduced by 20%, whereas Quick Hit will not be reduced by 20% because Quick Hit is a single target ability. That's it. And I mean, those are all the concepts. I'm just going to show you some vision cards that can do the same things as Odin and Winter Holiday Party. There is Bahamut. Bahamut has a single target resistance of 20% for all light units in the party. This card has area effect resistance by 15% for, again, all light units in the party. So you can combine them to get that same effect as Odin and Winter Holiday Party. There's also another limited another limited vision card, this one, Death Machine, which also, when you have it maxed out, gives you an area effect resistance of 20%. Unfortunately, it seems like the two vision cards that give you area effect resistance is a limited unit. Sorry, keep mixing up my words. It's a limited vision card. But I hope that they make some soon that gives you this in, without it being limited. Oh, there's an MR actually. This one gives you 15% as well, and this is not a limited card. So if you don't have either of those and you want to, like, if you're fighting a lot of AoE users like calculators in Arena or Guild Wars, this might be a card that you're going to equip on them, because this decreases the area attack resistance by 15, and that's an overall flat resistance, and this is an MR card. So there might be a few other cards too, actually, now that I think about it. I haven't leveled all of them up, and I usually use UR cards most of the time anyway, so I don't know all of them off by heart. But you can take a look through and see if you can find that. This is how it looks like: area attack resistance up, or single, not single, but unit attack resistance up. That's how that would look like. So that's my guide for how attack calculation works. I hope that was comprehensive. I know it's a lot, and I know we looked at a lot of numbers, but I hope it gives you guys a good idea of how your damage is increasing. And if you're unsure, if, for example, like if I have this already and I have another unit, like, should I be using this vision card or should I be using this vision card? What would give me the best attack? The best way to find out is to just take him into story mode. Attack the same enemy with the same skill using both different vision cards on the party, and see which does a better damage. That's the easiest way to find out how your units will do more damage. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. And if you like this video, I hope you like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Take care.